Welcome to Blueprint Boost for Contractors, the podcast that's your go-to source for unlocking the secrets to successful marketing, gaining valuable insights, and growing your contracting business with less stress. Your host is David Brooks, and he's thrilled to be your guide on this journey. As a seasoned expert in the contracting industry, David understands the challenges you face. That's why each episode is crafted to provide you with actionable strategies and proven blueprints to boost your business to new heights.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, David Brooks, powered by Contractor Rhino. We have a guest with us for this episode. I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Perfect. Thanks, David. Chris Crew with the Blue Collar Success Group.
Chris, nice to have you. Appreciate you joining.
Absolutely, David. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the opportunity to be speaking to your audience as well.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be able to have you on for this episode. Could you just tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, David, 16 years old. I decided I was too cool for school. And I decided I needed to get out and start making money. I had situations in my life that coming from a single mother family, to be able to help to work, put food on the table. And so I got out and started working, and I had a friend that worked for an electrical contractor, and they were hiring, and I needed a job. And so ta-da, I became an electrician. I started new construction and then would get into service and repair. And that led me to meet some very interesting people in my career, and what I would consider to be people that are legends in our industry, just men that have paved a way for business owners to learn and to grow from. And most recently, my last stint in the contracting was in 2017. I sold my shares of my business to my partner, but in 2013, we bought that business, a small electrical contracting business, and grew that business to multiple locations across the state. And I would exit that business today. We'll do 75 million top line revenue for electrical residential service only. No new construction, no project work.
That's excellent. That's a good story. That's a good background of, being able to see that opportunity that you had to make, and then being able to grow those businesses.
Yeah. And what's interesting, Dave, is a quote that I love by Les Brown. And Les Brown says that it's better to be prepared and have no opportunity than it is to have opportunity and not be prepared. And I believe that everything happens in our life and in our business to create a lesson. And as long as we can learn that lesson, we can have preparation, right? And we can make sure that when the opportunity now comes our way, we can see the opportunity for what it truly is. And it's not always the way as it looks, by the way. Most of the time, good opportunity comes masked as hard work, the old saying is.
No, I truly believe that as well. Being able to have that opportunity presented, but being able to take advantage of it, and being able to push it and move forward. So, I mean, that is vitally important. I mean, there's opportunities out there that sometimes are just sadly they're wasted.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times big relationships matter as well. I've learned in the contracting space, a lot of times those who read the book called 6 Degrees of Separation. I said in the contracting space, it's two. Like if you know two people in the contracting space, you probably know everybody. And it's just a very tight group of people. I believe that they're salt of the earth people, hardworking people that get up every day, go provide services for homeowners and businesses, the ability to keep them and their life, what I call back to normal. I most recently had a roof leak. We had the hurricane that had just came through, touched across Florida, which is where I'm at. I'm in the southwest side of Florida, and had a roof leak. It interrupted my life, and I wanted to get back to normal. And when I think about homeowners that have a need, if they have a repair type of need, not like, hey, I would like to get new landscaping put in, or hey, I would like to get the house painted, but I'm, an actual real need, not a want. They just want to get back to normal as soon as possible. And it's kind of fulfilling for me to know that I can help somebody's life get back to normal.
Mhm. Yeah, that is beautiful in the sense of being able to see that need, but to being able to help people. I think that's just the key element and so much with what is missing today. Help people out services, your expertise, and being able to just give them that support and make them feel good about it.
Yeah, it's the Tony Robbins quote, success without fulfillment is the greatest failure. And so you can make all the money in business that you want, but if you don't feel good about it, you don't feel fulfilled for it, it can end up being the greatest failure. And I love what I do, man. I love what I do today. Today I get the opportunity to be able to coach, train, and guide contractors in the contracting space and how to be able to run and elevate their business. A lot of times people get into whatever business they're in. Example, roofing. I'm an electrician by trade, so it made sense for me to have an electrical business, but there's more to being a business owner than knowing how to do the trade. There's a lot more to it. And I learned and early in my career that when you don't have the business side of the business, it makes the contracting component more difficult, right? But the more I understand the business, the more I can help. And when I say that, like genuinely speaking, I'm helping the end user, my customer, right? Their lives are enhanced because they met with a quality contractor that is professional, that shows up, that does the things that they say they're going to do.
Yeah, doing the things that you say you're going to do is so important, and being able to set that expectation and follow through. And that's going to go in harmony with our theme, understanding how to win the day. You're going to break us down with some of the key elements and what does that mean for somebody that has a business that wants to take things to the next level, but also needs the foundational steps in place to be able to do that. So let's dive into that.
Okay, cool. I like to try to break things down to simplify. And the reason why is because business sometimes can seem complex, but the more simple we make it, the easier it becomes to understand. So when we look at the end goal is to be able to make money, right? Because if we can't make money, we can't stay in business. So what is the order of operation to make sure that you've got your house in order? And I say this that most people don't know how to price their services. And so we know that this is the number one reason why any business fails. You give me a grocery store, you give me a restaurant, you give me a contractor, you give me anything, you've got to understand the cost of doing business. What does it cost for your business to operate? And a lot of times, David, people underestimate that cost and it doesn't afford them the ability to provide good quality service. So they find themselves cutting corners. And I don't mean like not using quality material. I'm talking about cutting corners like, hey, you know what? Let's not hire people to answer the phones. I'll do that myself, and I'll try to do that from the field because I can't afford to pay somebody. Well, all that starts with building all that into your price of your services. So, number one, let's get ourselves priced right. Whether your time and material, your flat rate, what is it that we're selling? At the end of the day, we're selling time and material. It's all about how you package it. And so the more the cost of the business, the higher the price of selling is, or in addition to that, the number of headcount you're going to need to go provide that service. So the first thing is get priced right. Number two, now you got to know how to market for your services.
Mhm.
No customers. I tell people all the time, it's like having a really fast customers and it doesn't exist to serve anyone. So it doesn't have the ability to produce revenue. So then when you go into marketing, understanding marketing segments, understanding who your customer is. And one of the things I've always said, David, don't try to be the expert at everything in business,
Mhm.
right? When there is an opportunity to level up and outsource things, it's always good to outsource them, especially if the learning curve is massive. Yeah, you can hire somebody to build your website. Yeah, you can hire somebody to design a print ad. Yeah, you can do those things, but what I found is it's not all connected, right? Branding is important, right? Making sure your brand and your messaging to the audience is really good. Like example, if I just opened a business and just said Chris is contracting, well, what all do you do, right? Your messaging has got to support the services. That's number two. Number three is my favorite part. which is the actual delivery of services. And that starts with answering the phones. And so I know this from personal account as a customer. I know this from personal account as a business coaching organization. The phones are one of the biggest missed opportunities in a business. Massive opportunity. Whether it comes down to not really being available to answer the phone. We find a lot of times that the owner or the manager or the contractor maybe has somebody in the accounting department answering the phones. And let me say this, I just don't think all accounting people, their niche is to answer the phone. They can answer it and respond, but think about that. As soon as the phone rings, selling begins. And I'm selling people on I'm the right company and I can take care of you. But a lot of times customers want to know more about what's going on. So it's super important that you have a standardized process that you teach and train as you hire people that here's how we answer the phone at XYZ business, right? And then from there, what I also see, Dave, is a lot of times, this is what I hear from owners. They ultimately end up trying to almost sell the work over the phone by trying to get all the facts from the customer, or what I like to call pre-qualify them over the phone. And I'll hear things like, man, I ain't got time to run around and hand out all these quotes and all these estimates just to have tire kickers. And it goes back to, when you've got a solid selling system, here's how we answer the phone. Here's how we run the appointment. You're going to find that taking a 15% increase on booking rate, a 20% increase in close rate in the field, getting good at selling, increasing your average transaction 30%. Those add up to some serious dollars just in those three areas right there. So when you think about that, you really want to elevate your business, explore what would it look like if you started tracking. And that's where I tell people to get started. Start tracking it first, right? How much does that cost you? Nothing. Start tracking. How many phone calls do we get? How many of those phone calls truly were legit customers that needed our services? And by the way, I'm not going to give any of your listeners a pass right here. They overqualify them, and then they're like, yeah, that's not really my customer. Well, it's like, how do you know that, right? If they're and this is how I quantify it. You ready?
Ready.
Do you provide the service? Are they in your service area? Then it's a qualified lead. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
If I'm an electrician, they're calling for plumbing. Yeah, it's not a qualified lead, right? So if I get those metrics in place, how number one, how many times the phone ring for service? How many times did I book those appointments? That now equates to a percentage, right? And then how many calls do I run? Because there will be some cancellations between the booking of the appointment to the running of the call. And we see, by the way, David, massive opportunity here. If businesses have major cancellations typically stem from can't get there fast enough. So now you've paid for the marketing lead, you booked the appointment, but you could never get somebody out there. And there's some very unique things that people can do by what I call quantifying the lead opportunity. And quantifying lead opportunity is nothing more than creating a matrix of job types. Example, I'll give you an example. If I'm an electrician, right, I can give you a really good electrical example. I can even give you a good HVAC and plumbing example, roofing example. Typically, it's what is the customer requesting for us to do, and approximately how old's the property or the equipment that we're going to be working on, because that'll determine what the upside opportunity could be. So example, if I'm going out to, let's just say, David, I'm coming to your house to install a ceiling fan as an electrician. And as an electrician, I know that it sounds like a ceiling fan call. I'll just quote that over the phone. And if they buy it, great. If they don't, I don't want to waste my time. But what if I said there's two different ceiling fan installs? One ceiling fan install is at a house that's 5 years old. Another ceiling fan install is at a house that's 25 years old. The massive amounts of opportunity outside of just the ceiling fan is a disparaging difference. 20 years in the home means potential panel upgrade, backstab devices, old smoke detectors, like all of the things. And I want to be very clear. Let me just stop. It ain't about selling. It's about servicing. And if a customer has a potential hazard, something that could be lurking that's going to end up costing them more money, it's our right and it's our responsibility to educate that customer, right? And so missing out on the, I don't want to run that ceiling fan call, it's 25 years old. I might go out and produce $5,000 on that call, not selling, but simply servicing, providing a good service, which goes back to the next thing that you've got to be really good at is making sure that you track how many calls we ran, how many calls did customers say yes. That's another tracking measurement. Okay, out of the people that said yes to us, how much money on average do we generate? And those all would be, David, key performance indicator numbers. Also, we hear a lot in the industry, KPIs, when it comes to performance. Booking percentage, cancellation percentage, close rate in the field, average ticket. Start tracking those four things, and now you get to do what we call TMI. Most people go, too much information. Nope. Track, measure, improve. Very simple.
Just as simple as that.
Well, it goes back, right, David? If I'm tracking something and I'm measuring it, well, what do I measure it against? Well, I might be measuring it off of a standard that I've set, some type of minimum standard that I have. Well, Chris, I don't even know what the standard should be. Okay, start tracking it and measure yourself against yourself week over week, month over month. Are we getting better or are we getting worse? I mean, it's just that easy, right? You could track it against previous periods of performance, and now you can create baselines. Hey, on average, we close phone calls at 50%. All right, well, we know that there's 50% opportunity to improve if we're looking for 100, right? And how much of the extra 50 do you want? Hey, I want to increase my phone conversion rate by 10%. So I go from 50 to 60. Now average the rest of those numbers out and see what that does for your business. And I'd say, David, in some businesses, it can easily equal up six figures in the business.
No, having those things in place where you're able to compare, where you're able to set the baseline, where you're able to see if you're growing, if you're decreasing, if things are moving forward, is vitally important. Having those systems and processes in place. But I love how you said, going back to your comment on servicing, right? Not about selling, but about servicing. And if you service right, the sale will be there. So you're coming out to a job to take a look at something that could be just a simple repair or something that maybe, hey, we could just get in, get out, but you may notice some other things that are going on inside of the home, some other areas of opportunity to be able to address with the homeowner. I know from experience, if I'm calling somebody out for a service and they come out here and they take a look, but they say, hey, also, I noticed that this also needs to be addressed. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say, well, why you're already here? What's the quote? Give what needs to be done to be able to get those other things done and taken care of too as well.
Exactly. And if I've got my services priced correctly, more times than not, I'm not going to be the cheapest person. So now I've got to be good at articulating the services of I'm rendering, why it needs to be done, and more importantly, what happens when you don't do it, right? So whether it be if your company offers a preventative maintenance, like not just explaining it that you need it, but tell me why I need it, right? Adults need to know why. And when we can answer why to customers, and more importantly, the impact it makes when they don't say yes, right? And here's the challenge, David. I'll just call it for what it is. Our industry as a whole has a lack of trust around it. Homeowners have a lack of trust. There's been too many sting operations, too many. I want to be careful how I position it. Aggressive sales tactics, right? Aggressive sales tactics, making customers afraid for not buying, scaring them into buying. All those things have caused it to be a little more, I'm not going to use the word difficult, but a little more to where just because we can do the work doesn't mean they're going to say yes, right? It's that, just because you're here and you can do the work and you're available, I then got to reason, is this within my budget? And that goes back to David, something that I believe every contractor should offer financing. If you own a service that you provide that could be a major impact to somebody's ability to put food on the table. And I want to just call it for what it is. There's three types of people that finance, and they all use financing for different reasons. Low income people are going to use financing because they can't afford the $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 roof. So they're sitting here going, I can't even get a roof put on my house. I can't afford it. How am I supposed to afford it? The contractor shouldn't say, well, figure out your money and then give me a call. Like, we should be able to provide financing. Well, Chris, they charge for that these days. Exactly. So then just pass that right back down through your customer, right? So look at your cost of doing business and pass that down to them. Third, the second type of person who uses financing is what I call like the middle class. The majority of the customers that we go and visit, they understand the value of money. And as they look at it, they might be able to afford it, the product. They might be able to afford the $10,000, but then when they look at their nest egg, they're saying, gosh, then what happened if I need that money for a rainy day, right? So now that person gets the security of being able to supply without having to dip into a nest egg. And then your high end, or like the upper class, they understand the value of money, and they're always going to leverage financing if the financing interest rate is lower than where their money's making. And tell people this all the time. Great businesses are always built off of other people's money, which goes into especially several things. So a potential downturn in the economy right now, an election year, so many things can go into an economy where we're at. And sometimes contractors wait until it's too late to try to create a plan. I'm going to say this. I know we're off topic right now. I am literally beating this drum till I can't beat it anymore. It's good to go get a line of credit when business is good, whether you use it or not. Because when business goes bad, nobody's loaning you money. They're going to ask for your income statement, balance sheet, and they're going to look at it and go, you can't even afford to pay bills right now. Why would I get you a loan? Versus today, I'm saying go get a line of credit, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 line of credit. It might cost you $1,000, $1,500 to open it up. Don't tap into it. But should something happen, now I got a backup plan, right? So that goes back to something I'm very passionate about, which is run the business by the numbers, run it off the financials. Example, if profitability is low, I might say we need to cut expenses. I might have a margin problem. I'm not charging the right price. And so I might be cutting out the expenses that are supporting the business to actually stay in business, right? We start cutting everything out. It's like, what do we got to keep to just keep the doors open? Well, what if I said, flip the script, change the mentality? How much do we need to sell today to keep the doors open? Hear the difference? Abundance mindset says, how much do we need to sell to keep the doors open? How much do we got to cut to keep the doors open? Because at some point, cutting won't be an option. You'll be out of business. And so I'm a big fan of, and maybe some people are like, oh, you live in a fantasy world. Well, if I can get customers and I can sell, we're going to be fine. Challenge is, it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. If I don't price my services right, I don't market my services right, and I don't know how to sell them, I'm not going to last. And I'm going to say this, David, this is going to come across harsh for the listeners. COVID made business easy for us. That's what happened. Things got easy in business because work was so plenty, and you could literally, you'd be backlogged a month. I heard contractors like, man, I can't even get there for a month. And it made the parts of the business that need our attention super easy, and we got super relaxed. And so I'm saying now, I'm waving the caution flag to contractors right now and saying, just get back to the basics, keep following the process of business, and you're going to be just fine. You know the reason why, David? Election years ain't brand new. This happens every 4 years, man. This ain't no surprise to us, right? We know that the economy shifts. Like, this ain't no surprise to us. People is like, oh, interest rates are going up. I'm like, it kind of happens. Like I go back to think about this, back in the 80s, interest rates were 17, 18, 19%. And now we're going 11 is too expensive. And it goes back to it's because we got free money for so long. You go to the bank and get a 2% interest loan, a 5%, and it looked like free money on paper, right? And then now all of a sudden 11 seems expensive, 12, 15, 16. And it's interesting, David, I don't want to get off topic here. I was just on with somebody the other day. I call them predatory loans. $100,000 line of credit, 40% interest, and they deduct the payment every week out of your bank account. It's no way to be, man. Business owners have an opportunity to correct some of that stuff right now. Just make better business decisions.
I think that that is such an important element of what you were saying, and I don't think you were off topic. I think it's right on topic and right where it needs to be in this current state. As you know, the like you said, it may sound harsh, but COVID made things lazy,
Mm.
and you do have to plan for tomorrow today. While times are good, you have to start strategizing for when things may slow down. You don't want to wait till they slow down and say, "Oh, now we have to have a plan in place and we have to do this and I just need this marketing to just bring me an extra, 100 plus people." It doesn't work like that.
Mm. Having a plan and working the plan every day, I believe, is key. And I even before COVID is one of my big things. And I had a situation in business when I was owning. I was a cash-based business that cash flowed very well, very very good at cash flow. But we hit a hiccup, and we were unable to make payroll one week. And that was scary, man, knowing that I got people that count on me to be able to get paid. We dug ourselves out of that, and I said that'll never happen again. So one of the things that, and we teach businesses this today as well, which is cash reserve. I'm not talking about cash that's going to be spent. I'm not talking about operating cash. I'm talking about cash reserves. And so for businesses that are wondering like how much should they have, I tell businesses all the time, get started somewhere. Understand what it costs to open the doors every day. And let's just say it costs me $10,000 a day to open the doors, $5,000 a day to open the door. Well, then if I've got $10,000, then I got 2 days cash reserve. If I got, and I keep doing that math and I get started somewhere. And the key is, David, to get started. A lot of times people are like, oh, let me get this fixed. I'm like, don't subscribe to that message, man. You can't subscribe to the message. Wait till I get it fixed and then I'll do it. Yeah, the answer is sometimes never comes around. I'll get around to it sometime. It'll never come around. And so getting to a good, strong revenue number would allow you to be able to put some cash away. And it goes back to a lot of times people try to pay cash for everything in the business. In some cases, that could be the worst strategy that they could do, especially if they could take it on under a term of a lease, like a vehicle lease, right? A lot of times people are trying to go out and pay cash for everything. And I understand that, like, hey, I don't want my business to have any debt, but there's good debt and bad debt. And if we leverage good debt, you can build the business off that. So I tell people all the time, 90 days cash on hand is a good number. But COVID opened my eyes up to it's probably more like 120, 150, right? 150 days cash on hand, because if you're, some people are in states where they got shut down for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. And yeah, you can keep the doors open, but then think about that. Then you got to have that ramp up period to get back into the swing of things. So give yourself that cushion there. And I know a lot of times running the business off the checkbook seems easier, but I'm going to highly encourage people, even if you don't necessarily understand all the numbers, make sure you got good solid books. Need a good income statement that can tell you what's going on in the business.
Mhm. No, I totally agree. Having that income statement, being able to be aware of good debt and bad debt. You don't have to pay for everything 100% cash, but you want to be strategic and smart inside of your business so that you're setting yourself up for success. And when a hiccup or something does happen, you have the opportunity to dig your way out of it kind of quickly.
Yeah. I always give it my rule of thumb. If I can access the cash within 24 hours, it's liquid to me at that point. So be smart with your money too. Don't just leave it sitting in a bank account. Leverage money markets, like do those kind of things. I mean, it's not a ton of money, but I mean, if a money market's yielding, even right now, 4.5, 5.25, that's that's free money, right? Especially if I've got a loan that's at 11% and I'm yielding 5 over here, then technically speaking, I'm only at 6, right? If we net the money, and that's where once again that business mind and strategy comes into play. And so trying to build your business, you don't have to do it alone, is what I'd say. There's a lot of people out there that can help you build and grow your business if you know the right people.
That's true. That's true. So knowing the right people is also, another element to success and being able to leverage good relationships.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, I've had to cut out a few bad relationships in business. I like to refer to them as transactional only, which is, hey, I just do business with these people just because I do business. But then I've got transformational relationships, and transformational relationships are ones that last a long time. And rarely is that relationship a take, take, take. It's a give, take relationship, right? You help me, I help you.
No, I love the fact that you said that a give take relationship and being able to build that. I think that's an element that I see that's missing sometimes too, where strategic partnerships can be aligned where it can benefit both businesses of in this home services vertical, but maybe it's just solo plumbing or air duct cleaning, different things that could be tied together and be useful for different businesses to be able to join forces, to be able to help each other, and then you have a good relationship too. You're going to be right in the same backyard, so you have an opportunity to hang out outside of outside of work. So I think a lot of those elements are often missed.
Yeah, agree, 1,000%.
So as we're wrapping up here, Chris, any last thoughts that you want to be able to share with the audience?
I read a book by Benjamin Hardy, and the name of that book is called "Be Your Future Self Now," and it actually opens up with talking about a famous YouTuber. A younger audience would probably be able to connect with. I have high school kids, so they know who Mr. Beast is. But like they tell the story about how Mr. Beast actually started, and what I'm going to say to you is fast forward 10 years from now, what lessons would you tell yourself today that you probably could learn if you wanted to, right? I learned that number one, time is not a commodity. We don't, like, everybody gets the same amount, and it's all about what we do with it. And so not putting off things, keep the important things important. It goes back to the Covey concept, right? Put first things first. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, making sure that I put first things first. And I'm going to say this, and I know that this is going to hit home for a lot of people. Some people focus too much on building their business and they put off the family time. And I've said people all the time, like, how do you do it, Chris? How do you do it? And I said, it ain't just going to happen. I can tell you this. A lot of people say, I just need to find balance. I just need to find some balance. I need to find some balance. I'm like, whenever you find it, let me know. I've never been able to find it, but I have figured out one thing. I can create it. And it goes back to learning what to say yes to and learning what to say no to. And sometimes we have a habit. I'm fall victim to this, just saying yes a lot. And sometimes no is a good thing for you and your business.
No, I think that's truly valuable. Saying no and being able to value family. Yeah, you have to have your business be able to be successful to be able to, put food on the table for your family, but carving at that time, making sure that you make it to the games and the recitals and, vacations, and you're not bringing work with you, constantly on vacation where it's like you're there, but you're not really there.
Mhm.
Those things in time you can't buy back. Money can't buy that.
No. So all the side hustles and all the I know it's a thing, man. I know that, but I mean, I'm 45 years old, man. That's what I tell people all the time. You ain't gonna outwork me. You won't outwork me. You just don't have the ability. You might outsmart me, but you won't outwork me. But I've learned that I can't let that be my MO, because if all I ever do is get on the treadmill and run at 100 miles an hour, I'm not going to have longevity either. And so this is the reason why we see a lot of businesses are like, I just want to sell my business. I don't, it's like, why? Is because they've fallen out of love with the business, and you got to love the one you're with, and you got to make time for the family. You got to make time for the business and put the first things first, put things in place that allow you to build and grow the business, not around you, right? Like build the business, build the infrastructure around, the key components of the business.
No, I truly believe that. Listeners, please take heed to that advice. So, Chris, where can they find you at?
The best thing, David, I tell people often, hit us on our website, start there, and that's going to lead you to all of our social media pages and handles. So you can locate us at thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. And once you go to thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com, you're going to see the icons at the top. And David, I say this, like we're like content crazy, putting out tons of content. So when you go to our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, like we're everywhere, right? When you go there. It's funny, I had somebody say this the other day to me. They were like, Chris, I feel like all you do is follow me on social media. I'm like, we're just trying to give you good stuff. That's it. We just try to make sure we're making your life a lot better. And so once again, David, there's a lot of stuff that your listeners can get, download, connect with. If they want to get on our email list, we can, and our emails are more leadership focused, business focused email. Go do this tactically. I mean, we help the contracting space a lot through our social media and our emails. And from time to time, yeah, we're going to put an ad in front of you. Like, I'm not going to hide behind that. Yeah, we're going to put an ad in front of you. And if you like what you see, buy it. And if not, stay on our list for some more free stuff that we offer.
All right, excellent. Now go make sure you check out the website and follow them on social.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that.
No problem. We appreciate having you, Chris. We'd love to have you back sometime. Again, thanks again, and thanks everybody for listening. Make sure you tune in to the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Blueprint Boost for Contractors. We hope you found today's insights and strategies valuable for your contracting business. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and please leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bring content that truly matters.